Hi, so today I'm going to show you some hacks for dealing with fabric and cutting with patterns. So what you'll need today is you've got your tacky glue here. You need some press and seal. This is that stuff you might use instead of plastic wrap, like the saran wrap, okay? I probably need a toothpick, what the heck. You need some kind of double stick tape. I have this, it's for paper crafting, generally speaking. You might have a roll somewhere. It could be on a dispenser or not. This roll comes with some cat hair, but that's totally optional. You'll need some, like a ballpoint pen or a Sharpie. You got your scissors, you got your fabric you're already dealing with, and I'm specifically going to be talking about using patterns. You have your pattern. So the very first thing that I want to let you know is whenever you're dealing with a pattern, no matter the shape, whether you made it, whether it came in some kind of kit, always cut the paper with a margin around it. Okay, so I'm not cutting right around that edge and then placing it and cutting it around that edge. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult to get a nice clean cut. And so I leave that margin, okay? I'm going to deal with this fabric first. Okay, so here's where your double stick comes in. Okay, I'm going to use this, whatever double stick you have. And what I want to do, I don't have to put a lot of glue on this, but I want to make sure that I get at least one line that passes over the edge of the pattern, like that. Okay, now that's very sticky. This one is very sticky, so I want to get a little bit of this stick off of here. However, I think will work. I'm going to try adhering it to my mat and seeing if I can get rid of some of the stick. So I actually don't want it really sticky, because here's the deal. I'm going to use this to hold my pattern down, okay, and cut through that. Now, when dealing with fabrics, one thing, if you need a really nice straight edge for some reason, or you're not sure which way the fabric goes or how you're going to deal with the grain of the fabric, pull along the edge like I am here, okay? If you're able to pull off some of the threads, even if it's like that and it's not nice and neat, I can tell then when I go to deal with my pattern, what is, and I'm going to remove some more stick there. Okay. I can kind of tell what is even. All right. What is going to be kind of that guideline, that straight end that I'm dealing with. Now that has a little wrinkle, so I'm just going to go right over here. Put this on the edge. Okay, I'm going to stick that down lightly. All right, this fabric is very cheap, and I've got to make sure that I don't actually fray it, because I'm going to show you how not to fray it in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to, quickly cut around here, not take too much time. This would be maybe the scale of some kind of rug. Okay, this might go in front of a couch or something like that. It's a little large for any other size rug. Like, it's not a welcome mat, my dears. It's not a bathroom mat. It's nothing like that. Okay, so now I have this. I did a fairly decent job of cutting that. Okay, I want to carefully remove the pattern. Now, like I said, this is cheap fabric, so I want to go kind of from the middle out. Okay, and see, it pulled at that just a little bit, so I could have used a little bit more light, I could have removed a little bit more of the sticky, long story short. Okay, so now I have this though. It's in pretty decent shape. I can go ahead and cut at this edge and clean that edge up really nicely. Okay, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to take care of this kind of thing. Okay, so I do have a little bit of a problem. Now, I can trim this a little, and then I'm going to show you, and it may not show at all, right? Okay, it's exactly what I wanted to show you how to deal with, though. So I'm using a little bit of tacky glue. Got a little bit of that on my finger. Finger is probably best. Now, what I'm going to do on the wrong side is I'm just going to dab a little bit of this tacky glue. And you see how it's pulling up some of the threads. And that's because I need to go in the direction of the fraying, in the direction. Now, I purposely chose a fabric and a shape that it's more likely to fray. Okay, but when I get down here, I can even glue that down. And if I'm really concerned about that edge that came undone, I could even glue a piece to help to disguise that. All right, if I really am concerned. But in most cases, that's just not really going to show that much, and so I don't have to be like that. I need to go in order in this oval. You know, I've got to sit this down. Okay, go around, round, 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 round. Oh, need to go in order there. In the right direction, I mean. Okay, so, all right. I'm not going to bother with that extra piece. I'm going to check my work, see if I glued everything down that was problematic. Okay, now what I can do after sort of touching that up, I look at this side and it's pretty clean. Once this starts to dry just a tiny bit, it doesn't have to dry all the way through, I have a nice even edge. If I still have something that's a problem, then all I need to do is trim that off. Now that I have the glue, it's going to stay. You know, it's going to be great. It'll stay just fine. You know, if I am still bothered by that, I can trim that just a little bit more and kind of trim that off. Once I have that glue, it's great. It's not going to be a problem again. Okay, so that's a way to cut accurately and to deal with fray. Okay, all right, now I've got this same pattern. Okay, I do my margin, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I'm going to take my press and seal, and I'm going to put the press and seal sticky side down on top of my pattern. Do as flat as I can go because I don't want to warp my pattern. Because now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to cut this. I am going to use my writing utensil, and I'm going to do the best I can to just go around my pattern. And if I'm not perfect, it's not going to matter because I can always fix this when I go to cut. Because I am going to use this to cut, and I'm going to go through some of the same steps, but I'm going to show you something cool. Okay, so in other words, I can clean that up like here, like I just made a mess out of that. Okay, so peel away this, and now I have my pattern, and this is why I would maybe need this. So I'm being very particular. Got this retro groovy fabric. It's very groovy. And I really want to make sure that I get a certain flower out of this, or a certain color, okay, or shape. Now, my pattern's not quite big enough to get that full flower, okay. So maybe I'm like, all right, I'll go here. I'll put these in the middle. Or maybe I just want to get this curve, you know, this little chain or this little curve here, and I don't care about this. I have the ability now to choose exactly where I want this place. Now, don't get me wrong. Let me see here. What would I prefer? I kind of prefer this. It really doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to press that down. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. I can cut out my my pattern, and I can do one of these things. I can, you know, kind of try to figure it out, move and sort of guess and whatever. Don't get me wrong, that still works, okay? But here I can be really particular about what I want for my print, okay? And I find this one to be fairly acceptable. I'm not going to actually use this. This is just for demonstration purposes. So now I can go ahead and cut this out. You actually can already tell what this is going to look like because the press and seal is transparent. Okay, so I'm going to do this real quick here. Might speed this up a bit. And I go here, cleaning up my pattern that I didn't draw very well. Now, here's sometimes the challenge, is getting the press and seal off of there. So I use a toothpick because I use toothpicks for everything, and kind of pull up that edge carefully and do it this way, because otherwise you're going to sit there and pick at that forever. Okay, now I've got what I wanted. You know, I wanted a little bit of this in particular. I wanted a smaller flower. Maybe I don't mind this one that looks cut off or what have you. Then I'm going to do the very same thing I did before. I can go around, I can do, you know, my edges, keep it from fraying. Okay, so that is a little bit of help for those two. I want to show you something though. Not all fabrics are going to take that glue very well. So this shiny fabric, see, that glue shows. Now this shiny fabric, however, is very prone to fraying, as you can see, right? So my little tip, it's not so great for this. However, let's say I'm just like, okay, I want to still use this fabric. I find a nice end, and I am going to just turn this under. Okay, I need this for bedspread or something swank. So I'm just going to kind of finger press it. I would want to make it nice and even if I can, and just use my fingers, maybe my fingernail to get that. Okay, I could also iron it. It just depends on, you know, how much I really want to do. Now I really would suggest taking a toothpick, and instead of just, you know, slathering a bunch of glue there that's going to show through, now what I can do is I can take a little bit and I can do just some dots across here, maybe not even this many. Okay, and so I'm just a little bit. Oops, okay. And then I can turn this over, and it will stick if I've done enough of those little dots, and it's gonna stick. Let's say I needed to cut this here, okay. And if I look at my other side, sure, there's some puckering. There's a little bit. I need to still kind of press this down with my fingers to get a nice, clean edge, right? But those little dots are far, far less obvious than if I put a bunch of glue, you know, like I did on the edge over here. So that's really not going to show as much. And I have different ways of pressing this down. I'm just using my fingers. I could put something heavy on there. I could use an iron and so forth. So that's, you know, that's about the best way that you can do dealing with this kind of fabric. Now, maybe you have a thinner glue that you could try to use on there, and it would maybe show less. That dollar store craft glue that I like a lot for paper, you know, you could try using a thinner glue if you have something. I know some people, they just thin out Elmer's glue, you know, but a little bit of this maybe. See, I don't think it's going to be any better, but you could try with that. You could thin your Elmer's instead of having to go to the dollar store. Okay, so one quick thing I want to show you is I just kind of figured this out. So, you know, with glasses, sunglasses, oh gosh, with your electronics, with just about a lot of things, anything with glass on it, or acrylic, they give you those little polishing cloth things. I noticed that this is a great way to have a source of something that looks like suede. It looks a little bit like suede. So you could actually use these to make, it may only be a throw pillow, it depends on how big you have. You know, maybe it's a seat of a chair. But I just kind of realized that that worked. So that was kind of cool. So that's just another little source. It's cheap, really cheap. It's in fact, the dollar store could even have these. Not all of them look like suede, but it's a tiny bit of fabric, and that's all you need. Okay, in my description, I give you my source for my funky fabrics. I also give you a link to one of several online fabric stores that you can purchase swatches from, and they'll give you a pretty decent swatch. And if you're wanting a really good quality fabric, you know, you want almost an upholstery level fabric, you know, home, they call them, you know, home decorating fabrics. They'll give you a pretty good one. Now, when I say give, I just mean in the generosity of the size. You do have to actually pay for it. Sometimes they only cost $1 each, but then you will have a minimal shipping. So whenever I do it, I buy several samples so that like the $2 shipping or $2.99 shipping or what have you is, you know, spread across. It's not as big of a percentage. And, you know, if you're redoing an entire house kit or you're designing from scratch, you know, you can use a lot of little pieces of fabric like that. So anyway, I hope those little fabric hacks will help you out. If you did enjoy this demonstration, please consider subscribing to my channel. Take care.